Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my humble casa, my humble home in Livingston, Montana. Okay, with this video here, I am very, very late in answering somebody that wrote me an email clear back on September 12th of 2020. This individual's name, without doxing him, is Rich R. But I can't remember where Rich lives at. Sorry, Rich. I'm sure you'll see this movie file. At least I hope you do or whatever have you. But I'm well aware of what you wanted me to do there, Rich. You wanted me to make a hunting film, like if I was elk hunting or deer hunting. Okay, let me tell you about it, Rich. I've been all through that, at one time or the other. And it is very, very difficult to work with a camera, a recording device, and stuff like that when you're hunting. Because you usually need to bring a tripod along, and you want to try to avoid, recording a bunch of, blood laying all over the place. And a lot of times, let me give you this particular problem I had one year. I had a very expensive camcorder. I go up hunting, boy, I have this camcorder in my pack and everything, and I figured it was about time for me to pull the camcorder out and shoot a scene, so I pulled the camcorder out, started up, and I got a boot screen that said, the outside temperature is too cold for this camera to operate correctly. Boy, that really made my day. I wanted to take that stupid camcorder I remember all too well is made by JVC. I wanted to take that piece of junk and throw it down the mountain. Matter of fact, I gave it to my my son, because it was absolutely no good for me, for what I was doing, Okay. Taking a snapshot once in a while or a picture or something is one thing, but doing movie recordings, it has its set of problems, because usually I'll need my big tripod, for example. Well, my big tripod weighs 5 pounds, and I'm not going to be packing no big tripod around, because once your big game animal's down, you're going to want to mount your camera and try to get, if you want to get yourself in the picture or the recording, you got to have a tripod. Well, a tripod, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, as a hunter, is baggage you don't need, okay? You got that. Then it's cold outside, and sometimes it's snowing, and nothing you're going to do is going to look any good anyway. And it's just one problem right after the other. And besides that, in my old age, I'm kind of stuck without any hunting partners. If I had a cameraman or somebody that could follow me around, it'd be a little bit different. It'd be a lot easier, So I hope that makes sense. Trying to record hunting and all of that stuff, especially if you got harvested animals in the picture, which a lot of people freak out about because they're anti-hunters and all that stuff, it becomes problematic. Why? I've been through it. So, Rich, I decided to do something else for you. I know there was a bunch of places that you named off that you wanted me to state where the most elk were and the most deer were and all that stuff. I'm going to cut right through the crap and all them places, Rich. You know what you wrote down and everything. I'm going to tell you, none of the above. Okay, because the reason being with elk, they're a migratory animal. Say you get into a whole bunch of elk up in and around the highlands over there by Butte, 1 year. The next year you go up there and there might not be nothing, because they don't stay in one spot. They are a migratory animal. Elk can travel 20 miles in a 24-hour period. That's a lot of distance, man. You ain't going to go galloping after an animal like that. Let me tell you, I know. I got big boot prints chasing them elk around, It's about all you can do is to bring your pack, your rifle, and get all set up to, and hopefully you can get that shot and get the business done, other than worrying about recordings and, I don't like to use that word filming because that's out of date, but making recordings and stuff like that, it's problematic, trust me. Okay, now getting back to this, where is the most elk and deer herds? You never did specify on the deer, but I'm just gonna cut right through the crap, and all them places that you want me to talk about, I'm gonna say none of the above. The area that I've been in Montana that's got the most big game animals is right here. You look back just a couple of videos ago that I did, maybe 10 videos ago, and you're gonna see some real nice, mule deer bucks that were in my yard munching on my grass and just moved across the street. And I was fortunate enough to be standing right there, with my camera and grab like 3 or 4 minutes worth of recording, okay? The problem of it is with Paradise Valley starts here at Livingston, Montana, and I'm pointing south. I know you don't know what south is, but straight south of here, southwest, I'd have to say, is Paradise Valley. There's about 40 miles of Paradise Valley, and Paradise Valley is about 15 miles wide, and this area in south central Montana probably holds more big game animals than anywhere I've ever been in Montana. We've got quite a few elk in here. We've got tons and tons of whitetail. We've got tons and tons of mule deer and stuff like that. But the problem of it is, most of these big game animals are on private property. And most of these clowns around here are not hunter friendly. And you cannot trespass in the state of Montana without incurring about a $600 or $700 fine. It's against the law. You have to have written permission from a landowner to hunt on private property. It's just that simple. Law, they want you to have written permission so that the landowner doesn't come along and say, "Oh, I didn't tell him he could hunt here," and all that. It's all screwed up, man. I mean, we have big hairy car wrecks every year, animals smashed all over US 89, that's the highway going to Yellowstone Park, and all that, because as far as I'm concerned, we have an overbalance of big game animals right here in Paradise Valley. They need to be thinned out. And somehow or the other, the Fish and Game Department needs to work with these, private landowners so we can thin a few of these animals out. It would be better for future generations if you know anything about animals like I do. Okay, there you are, Rich. I covered that, but I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to tell you a hunting story. And I'm going to tell you what I truly know about hunting. Okay? So, don't worry, don't run off. Let's see how much time I've wasted. 8 minutes. Oh, good God. That's not too good. I don't like to make these videos too awful long. Okay, years ago, and I'm talking like 30 years ago. I've been married for 45 years, but I've been married about 10 years. Now, I don't even think I've been married 10 years, and I got into bow hunting. Now, if you want to find out how good of a hunter you are, pick up a bow. Matter of fact, everything that I learned as a bow hunter just made me a better rifle hunter. It made me more dangerous as far as those animals are concerned. I am not kidding you. Bow hunting requires a lot of concentration. It requires a lot of time. You got to put a lot of effort into that. You got to get close to your animals, and you really have to learn to hunt the way that the Native Americans did, the Native American Indians, like that, and then. A lot of practice with that bow and all that kind of stuff, and you have to be able to get fairly close to your animals. You ain't shooting no elk at 150 yards. The only person I ever knew that shot an elk at a long distance, it was 185 yards, and that was Howard Hill, one of the most famous archers that ever lived. Now just look him up, Howard Hill, and you'll find out what a true archer is, But in my tenure of being a bow hunter, like I say, I repeat myself, it just made me a better gun hunter is all. But I got one quick story I'm going to tell you about how I was hunting. And back in them days, I knew all about compound bows and recurves and all that. But boy, I wanted to go, I wanted to go frontier, That's the wrong word, man, I wanted to go traditional, okay? So I got my hands on a longbow, and they are pretty hard to master, One of them great big old longbows are like 68 inches long or 70 inches long, real narrow limb, and, I don't know. Them bows that they used to use over in England, okay? Robin Hood bows, them kind of bows. And as a matter of fact, I got into bow hunting so heavily that I made my own arrows, I fletched my own arrows, I dipped my own arrows, put my own broadheads on, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I learned how to make Flemish bow strings. I learned how to hand twist bow strings, and I got into it all the way, and I was but the problem of it is, no matter how serious I was as a bow hunter, I wasn't bringing home any meat. I found out just how bad of a hunter I really was. And that bow, that's what a bow will teach you. But I'm going to tell you a story there, Rich, or whoever's listening to this, all two of you that are listening, I did loose an arrow one time. Loosen an arrow means, cutting it off your string, letting it go like that. I got one shot at an elk one time. And just to show you how smart these elk are and how quick they can move and everything, this is what happened. At the time I was living in Idaho, and I was up in Island Park, Idaho. I've spoke about that on my channel here before. Okay. As a matter of fact, I was up there with my brother and a friend of my brother's, and we was fishing in back of a place and up the side of a mountain, a place called Coffee Cup Rapids. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. But we were fishing up on the other side of the Snake River, Coffee Cup Rapids, up in those mountains up there, okay? That's about all I can tell as far as what we were doing. And we were bow hunting. Now, bow hunting season's always usually in Idaho and in Montana most of the time, for the most part, September. And so we were up there in September. I know that for a fact. But here I am working myself up the side of this mountain, pretending like I'm Robin Hood, and I got my big old longbow, and them big old 3/8 inch cedar arrows. And I used to make my own wooden arrows and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of, just sneaking along and all that. And it was getting up about noon, and I'm going, man, I ain't seen nothing all morning and all that. And because usually during bow hunting season, it's pretty advantageous for you to take off early in the morning, because mid-September is when them elk start rutting, breeding, and them bulls get noisy, and that's when you can call them in, with an elk call and all that other stuff. Well, I didn't hear any action or anything that morning, Well, anyway, I'm walking uphill and everything, and in back of me, I just came through this patch of timber, and I was out in the open, and I was making my way up the hill. Well, in back of me, I heard what it sounded like a freight train come crashing through the brush. I kid you not, man. I mean, this was a really noisy fiasco I had going on here, And of course, naturally, the first thought that came to my head is grizzly bear, That's grizzly bear country over there. That Island Park, Idaho, isn't too far from West Yellowstone, Montana. Not very far at all. Matter of fact, right where we were at, we were only about from West Yellowstone, Montana. We were probably only like 25 miles away or whatever have you. So I turned to my right real quick. Don't ask me why, but I remember this crystal gin clear. I turned to my right real quick like that, and lo and behold, there was a cow elk. She was coming at me, and she was coming at me quartering. Do you know what I mean by quartering? On an angle. You know, and it was something really spooked her, you know. And most of the time when them elk run, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this stuff, but they run with their heads up. You know, I never could, I don't know why they do that, because sometimes they get their heads blown up doing that kind of stuff. But this elk here was very determined to get to where she needed to be, you know, because something spooked her. It wasn't me either. And she kind of had her head down, and not up in that camel look, you know. But she was quartering away from me, you know. In other words, it would have been her left side was, you know, exposed enough anyway for me to get a shot. And I go, hot damn, you know. And man, I just drew that old longbow back. And, you know, and longbows are made to shoot very, very fast. You know, you're not going to pull one of them back. Howard Hill used to shoot 120-pound longbows. You think you're strong? Try to pull one of them back. But with longbows, it's always quick release. You just pull back, anchor, and let go, you know, and like that. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, once I realized that there was an elk kind of quartering at me, I led her a little bit because I wanted her to run right into that arrow, you know, because that old longbow I had back in those days was only 68-pound pole or something. It wasn't the quickest bow in the world, let me tell you. You know, so I pulled back like this, you know, and just a split second, get my anchor point and let that arrow go. And I thought, boy, she looks good, you know, because I could see that arrow flying, and it was headed right directly. That cow, the way she was quartering away from me, I knew that arrow was going to strike her right in the ribs, and I'd be home, you know. This is a true story, ladies and gentlemen, just as true as it gets. How she ever did this is beyond me, but that just goes to show you how tough and smart these animals are. Somehow or the other, she either seen or detected, she definitely detected me there, but as that arrow was flying through the air right on target, she made a great big jump to her right. In other words, she jumped out of the way of that arrow. I could not believe that. I could not believe that. I could sit here and say that for 10 more times, but I'm sure you'd get sick of it. And, of course, she went lumbering past me, you know, and gone, you know. And I've shook my head for years over that because that arrow was on the mark. I know, I practiced enough. You know, it was my way of hunting back when I was younger. I was a bow hunter. And finally I got tired of not bringing any meat home and went back to the rifle. And then I started bringing a lot of meat home. You know, but she actually jumped out of the way of that arrow. Of course, I had a slower, older-fashioned bow or nothing, but she wasn't really that far away from me when I cut that arrow loose. Probably, you know, I'm thinking maybe 25 yards or 30 yards tops. 30 yards tops. And running right at me, but on an angle, and she was still able to dodge that arrow. I couldn't believe that. So, Rich, that's the story for you, my man. You know, I didn't forget your request, and I hope I covered everything. And this file is about, oh, man. This file is, good God. No matter what I do, I can't, ladies and gentlemen, seem to cut the time down on these idiotic files. I don't like to make them very long. This thing's coming up on 20 minutes. You know, but anyway, well, I'm just going to let this time run up to 20 minutes. But what I'm trying to say is if you really want to get into the essence of hunting, pick up a bow. That'll show you how good of a hunter you are, or it'll definitely improve you, make you a better hunter. It's just that simple. You know, it's the God's truth, you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for letting me entertain you for a few minutes. What I told you was the absolute truth. Thanks for writing to me, Rich. We'll see you on down the trail. And, well, take care of yourselves. Adios, my friends.